Welcome to today's video. Today we will look at how to do feed optimization properly. So this video is all about feed optimization mastery for Google Ads, and I will show you how to check your GMC, make sure everything runs smoothly so you don't run into any kind of issues on account level or product level. So everything stays live, you have no issues. And then of course we will look into how to optimize your feed for improved targeting, better click-through rate, better conversion rate, which in turn means higher ROAS and more profits for you. All we want, right? The GMC that stays live and more money in the pocket. All right, let's go. So like I said already, what we are optimizing for, basically we want to avoid any kind of issues in the GMC. So we check all kind of errors, disapprovals, how to fix them, and then basically how to improve the targeting, the relevance of our product listing, and also the clarity to have like better click-through rate, and in the end also better conversion rate, right? Because we don't only want to attract the right customer, we also want to make sure the wrong ones doesn't click on our ad and cost us money and then don't convert, right? So relevance and clarity basically, and that's pretty much it. So a couple of non-negotiables we will have in the video is basically, obviously fix the errors first, and then we optimize for performance. Then I will show you how to optimize for better keywords in titles and descriptions without keyword stuffing or using random keywords or guessing what works well. And then obviously like never include any fake info or salesy copy in the titles or descriptions that leads to account suspension straight away. And always keep the feed consistent with what you have on your landing page or in the back end, also to make sure like everything stays live and you don't run into issues. So without further ado, let's dive straight into it. Quick workflow overview. I will show you on how to check things. First of all, you always go to Merge Center and Diagnostics and check if you have any issues, right? We said we want to check that first. Do we have any account issues? Do we have any product issues? Can we fix them? What's up there? Remember, especially with big feeds, there will always be something, right? You will always have some minor issues, mostly due to syncing errors, which gets resolved automatically, usually with the next resync. You can also do a manual resync if there are a lot of products disapproved or your bestsellers are disapproved for some reason. And that's pretty much it, right? So don't overthink it. Again, there will always be something, right? Like small syncing issues, crawler issues, where you have like, for example, I don't know, some products disapproved for landing page unavailable, or like some price mismatch, right? Most of the time, like actually nothing is going on. And again, if like 0.3% of your feed is disapproved today, just resync, wait for the next resync, and it will be fine, right? So don't overcomplicate it. Just make sure it's under control. Then step 2, you will look at your feed. And just a quick health scan. Basically, we will categorize in top sellers. We will look at our wasters, right? That are products that have quite some spend but low performance. Then you can also look at products with some clicks but low conversion rate, or like high impressions, low clicks, which means low click-through rate, right? So we can see, all right, what to improve there. But mostly we want to look at our best sellers, of course, and we want to look at the wasters that have high spend but don't perform. And then we will always check, all right, can we improve something with the title? Can we improve the description? Can we improve the image quality, price competitiveness, right? So super important for Google. We know pricing is quite important. Are we competitive in the auction even? Can we optimize the pricing and push for more volume? And then we also will look at, product category, product type, like does that match? Is that aligned? Can we improve there? And even like other things, right? Can we improve product highlights, certain other attributes in the feed that can be improved? But those 4, I would say, even like they are the most important by far, right? And also something I want to add here straight away, even with the top sellers, don't overthink it, because if they're already selling well and performing well for you, you probably shouldn't like tweak too much. That can backfire, right? So you want to mostly look at, even those products like the wasters, with high budget, low performance, of course, and even products with clicks that already got some clicks but low conversion rate, that can lead into a future waster, right? So they have like usually relatively low spend still, but those are kind of like and even sometimes products with high impressions and low clicks, because that's also something like they show in the auction, but nobody clicks. You want to think about it and think why, right? Because like they get shown, like your ad gets shown, but nobody clicks. So maybe image quality, right? Or image clarity, like it's not fully clear what it is. Or even the title where it just shows in the wrong auctions. It's not good for you either. So that's kind of like the products you want to focus on. Your top sellers usually need the least attention of you because it's already working quite well. All right, and then like I said, step 3, we apply those fixes and optimizations. So we want to check for errors and disapprovals first, of course, like we said, and then title framework. Can we optimize the title, descriptions, certain variants, categories, images, pricing? And last but not least, you can also like add labels to like put them in certain category for yourself. We do that differently in the agency, but yeah, whatever you want to do there, basically. Cool. To keep the video short and simple and straight to the point, I will skip the diagnostic checklist, pretty straightforward, and I will dive straight into the attribute mastery. All right, and the most important thing I want to check out with you here is keyword mastery, right? So that's something I get asked often, and to be honest, we never had the proper SOP on that. That really like shows, okay, where to get it, how to get it. I always gave a couple of different options, but here's the right way in the right order where you can actually get the right keywords without guesswork and with avoiding all the common pitfalls and mistakes. So again, the goal is include actual search terms people use. Super important, right? Like actual search terms based on data. So without guessing, and of course without keyword stuffing, right? That's the worst, because that leads to turning titles into unreadable garbage. We don't want it either, right? It just doesn't make sense. So actual search terms based on data, without guesswork, without keyword stuffing, and without making it look like shit, basically. And also remember, this is not SEO, so we are not optimizing for that. It's very similar in a lot of ways, but we are optimizing for shopping query alignment, right? So we run paid ads here. It's not SEO. Super important. So you always want to keep that in mind if you compare that. All right, first principles first. Again, like I said, no guesswork. We do not invent keywords. Super important, right? That's where we'll go through it here step by step. You extract them from real demand based on real data. A keyword-rich title is built from observed search behavior. Again, actual data aligned with how users describe the product, where you also keep like the human aspect of it in mind, like how do people even look for it? Why? What's the intent behind it, right? That sometimes the algorithm doesn't pick up, so you want to keep that in mind as well. And we will structure it basically into 2 main categories for the keyword optimization, which is primary and secondary modifiers. A primary modifier is the descriptive aspect of what it is, right? Let's take running shoes as an example. Running shoe would be the primary modifier. That would be the main keyword, the root keyword, right? What is it? Running shoe. You could even say shoe, but that would be almost too broad. So let's say running shoe. And then that's the product category, the product type, right? And then you have secondary modifiers, which could be gender. So we have running shoes for men, running shoes for women. Could be the weight, quite common for running shoes as well, right? You have lightweight running shoes, for example. Then you can combine it like lightweight running shoes for men, right? And you can see already where we go with it. So the primary modifier or the primary root keyword is like the main keyword, right? Like what is it actually about? With the secondary modifier, you niche it down a bit more to make it as relevant and as accurate as possible. So the secondary modifier should like make it more detailed, but only with the goal, and that's important, to like make it more relevant for our actual target audience. Like if it makes sense, if it does make sense and you add random modifiers that are actually not relevant, then it's not good. Then it's like pointless. So it should make the targeting and the relevance of the listing like on point. If it's random stuff, don't add it. Then no need to again, no need to keyword stuff in that case, right? If it's, let's stick to the running shoe example. If it's just an ordinary running shoe, unisex even, right? Like doesn't matter what gender, there's no specific attribute about it, like nothing, then just keep it simple. Then you have running shoe, you have size, color, the brand maybe, you know, that's it. No need for like any weird modifiers. In a lot of cases, you have something that makes sense though. Keyword stuffing, no long keyword lists, no spam. And again, don't guess what's relevant. Actually look at the data, actually look what makes sense for this type of product you have. Do it properly, it pays off. All right, next, most important, where do we actually get the correct keywords from? We said we take real data. So where do we get the data from, right? This is in the right priority order, the most important first, which is Google Ads. Of course, obviously, because we are optimizing this for our ads, right? So where do we get the most important data from? The most relevant data, the gold standard, the best signal in Google Ads directly. That would be the search terms report. In that case, let's say we run shopping campaigns, BMAX, we want to look at our search terms, right? And again, we look at different things here. We want to see what converts best, what's trending, what has the most potential, what gets a lot of clicks but doesn't convert well, right? So you want to look at not only for the ad optimization, but also for the feed optimization. Super important. Where do we get it from? Like I said, search terms report basically for your shopping campaigns, BMAX. Perfectly fine. And again, we look at what converts, what gets a lot of clicks, what gets a lot of clicks and sells well, what gets a lot of clicks and doesn't sell well. You want to look at it from different angles, right? To get a clearer idea of it, to see patterns, and to just see what's going on in general. Yeah, search terms that clearly describe the product, you will get some good ideas from that. And sometimes it's really, really surprising. I had it before. I had products that sold super well, had a certain title. It was a winter jacket. I remember it quite vividly. And then we looked at the search term, and the search terms that were converting were something completely different than what we actually had in the title. That was quite interesting. It was still converting well. But the thing is, you should also optimize the title and your listing for exactly that in that case then, right? And I said before, usually we don't really touch bestsellers if it's already working well. In that case, we actually optimize the listing for that specific search term, and we could even get more out of it. I think it was around like 20-30% more output if within 1 week. And I'm saying output, this is quite random actually. It was like a mix of sales volume and ROAS. We kept around the same ROAS in the end because we were pushing, but we had like around 20-30% more sales volume with around the more or less the same ROAS, right? Doesn't matter, short story, but in the end, what you really want to have is like you want to make sure that's matching and that makes sense. And even for other products, you will get good insights on, all right, what converts, what doesn't convert, and yeah, just what people are looking for as well, how they are searching for. So what to look for, again, product type terms, right? So that's the primary modifier. Then you have the secondary modifier, which is intent modifiers, like we said before. Could be gender, could be the material, could be the USB of the product, or like the function. Could be size, could be color. Depends on the product as well, right? Material, style descriptors could be also a secondary modifier, basically the same like size and gender. Of course, the main thing, if it converts, it belongs in the title. So you want to check that out primarily, right? Then also in the Merge Center, you get some good search queries, basically similar to Google Ads. Basically, you see what people are looking for, right? But not necessarily clicking. So quite interesting as well. Basically similar to Google Ads, but you can check the query data there as well. Helps you to understand primarily how Google serves your feed, right? When your product show, why they show, what people are looking for again. And you want to see if your primary keyword, if that's matching already, if that makes sense. Another powerful research option is Google Autocomplete, right? That's a very old trick, but still works quite well. So you type in your core product name, your primary keyword, your primary modifier, like we said, basically, and you see what's coming up, right? Autocomplete suggestions. Like here, for example, silk pillowcase, and it gives you a good idea of like, okay, what gets actually searched for. All right, and then two more. Then we have obviously like check out competitor shopping listings. You can search for your own products. You can search for similar products. You can search for competitors, and you will see what's coming up, right? I would recommend not looking for your own products too much. Like that's something that's just doesn't really make too much sense. And then you start to overthink it. Oh, why do I not show it first place or second place? Like if you look for your own product yourself and you do it multiple times, you get weird results. So don't really do it with your product too often. Just look at your competitors primarily, similar products. How do they do it, right? Just try to learn from them. Like, do they have a different primary keyword for the same kind of products, right? If so, why? Especially if you start to see patterns. You always want to look for patterns in that case, right? Look at the top ranking listing. Look at what they do differently, right? Try to be quite objective. Like, is it the product image? Is that different? Is the price maybe something that could lead them to have more success, right? Try to look at it from different angles, basically. And again, mainly look at the different angles, what to do, how to do it, what to don't do as well, right? And then learn from them, but obviously don't copy one-on-one, especially if it maybe doesn't make sense for you. Try to do it even better. Don't copy like weird promo language, especially if you don't have it. Then you get a misrep. And avoid lies or over exaggerations, even if it works well for them. I wouldn't do it. Can always lead to an account suspension, right? So we don't want that. Basically, look for patterns, learn what other people are using. It will help you to get a good feeling for it as well. And then last but not least, we have certain keyword tools. And that's usually always something we think about first, right? And something I also like always mention as well, like Keyword Planner, Google Trends, certain SEO tools. But really you want to look at the data that you already have, right? And what other people are doing as well, because that's closest to the source and backed by actual data, especially your ad account data. But still super interesting sometimes. I love Google Trends, I love Keyword Planner, certain SEO tools to give you like an idea of like search volume, what people are looking for, how they're looking for things. But again, not even close to your actual own data. And almost nobody does that. So that's like the real hack, right? The real secrets on how to optimize it properly. It's quite some work, to be honest. That's why you cannot do it for every product properly. But it pays off, right? Especially for your top sellers and for your wasters, you want to look at that stuff. And something that's super important here for me to mention is just because a certain search term or keyword has a lot of search volume, doesn't mean it's a great search term, right? Like that's bullshit. You don't want to look at something that has like the highest search volume. It doesn't mean it will get you the most amount of sales. Sometimes it can be a very niche type of product, a very niche type of keyword that brings you the most sales with a good ROAS as well, right? Because also, especially you have to consider search terms with high search volume usually also have a lot of competition. And again, you also want to go for relevance, right? It has to be relevant to your product listing. If you go super broad, you usually target everybody, and then also like the quality of the traffic is lower. So you want to be relevant, right? Remember the running shoe example, for example. You don't want to have just a random running shoe. You want to be like, all right, which gender, what material, or like what attribute, for example. And even if the search volume is then lower, you are like way more relevant to your actual target audience. And in turn, you have a better converting product here. Super important, right? Forget the volume. Like that's something I don't even care about, or not that much at least. Of course, there needs to be some search volume. If nobody's looking for what you're selling, you will have a hard time selling it. But I don't care if like 500,000 people are looking for it every month, or if it's like 50,000 or 100,000. As long as people are looking for it, I can make sales, right? So that's super important. Like I cannot stress it enough, because I know everybody's looking for this like high search volume keywords, but I couldn't give a shit how many people are looking for it. So super important, right? All right, next, how to decide the primary keyword. I mean, basically we went over it already, right? First of all, data. You want to look at the data, but also think from the human side of things again, like how would someone describe it, right? It's usually like very easy to describe, nothing fancy about the primary root keyword. Like, all right, buffer jacket, running shoes, like we said, silk pillowcase, standing desk. It's usually like 2-3 words max, right? The primary keyword is like very, very simple, very straightforward. A lot of people try to overcomplicate it, but it's honestly very, very straightforward. And then the secondary keyword, like the modifiers, they can be a bit more complex sometimes, and that's where we really have to do the research. And super important, I cannot stress that enough. Let's go over it. Modifiers are added only if they change buying intent, if it makes it different, right? For the running shoe, for example, like if it's a running shoe for men or women, that would change buying intent, right? Or even like the different attributes. Like there's so many different running shoes for different type of cases, which obviously changes the buying intent, right? If I'm looking for that one specific running shoe, that type of attribute, I wouldn't buy the other, right? I couldn't care less about the other one then. So that's super important. Add it if it's relevant for the buying process, if it changed the buying intent, if it's a commonly searched keyword, and if it's accurate to your listing as well. You cannot just add random stuff because you think it sells well. You cannot even offer that thing, right? Whatever it is. So common modifier categories, again, it depends on the niche as well. It's like gender, size, material, certain use cases, USPs, and it depends on the niche as well. Can be a taste for supplements, for example. The taste, super important, especially for protein powder, for example, right? You have like certain taste that's more popular than others, like chocolate, vanilla, whatever. So it depends on the niche as well. But again, don't overcomplicate it, just straight to the point. And I like this rule as well. If removing the modifier would attract the wrong buyer, include it, right? Like that's a good modifier, like adds to the relevance and to the clarity of your listing. All right, and then in terms of title structure, I don't want to go too much over it. It also depends sometimes on the niche and like what's best. But very simple, primary keywords, key modifiers first, and then you have like variant titles, the brand at the end. That's pretty much it. You can like play around with it a little bit, have the brand first, for example. I would have the brand first if it's like a very popular brand, right? For example, I just see here Nike running shoes. You always want to have Nike first, right? If it's like a brand with that gravity. Just makes sense. So I will skip that. It's like pretty straightforward. What I want to show you is the keyword density rules. That's important. Of course, only show each keyword once. Doesn't make sense to have it twice. No repetition. And also don't stack synonyms, because Google understands that, all right, if you talk about jackets, you talk about jackets, right? You don't need like different synonyms for jackets. I don't even know. Here, for example, putting code there, right? If it's not a code, it's not a code. Don't try to like add similar type of search terms just because it's close to jacket, right? So that would be an example of that, like putting jacket and code in the same category. Like, is it a jacket or is it a code? Like, stick to one thing, right? Things like that also like dilute your traffic quality. And then don't be surprised if it doesn't work, right? And I saw that type of stores actually where people like really thought they optimized the keywords nicely because they included a lot of stuff and they had all these search terms. But in the end, it was just like a bunch of bullshit, right? So we cannot do anything with that. All right, how to actually implement this? I mean, also pretty straightforward, right? I will not like tell you how exactly to do that. It depends on what workflow you prefer, but you know what's important, you know how to do it in the end. There's just one thing I want to mention it here because I see it here right now. That's quite important. Never hard code keywords that already exist as attributes, right? So that's something, what that means is basically you have an attribute for brand, you have attributes for size, color, gender, even material, right? So you don't want to add that in your original product title because you can add those things with your feed optimization as an attribute, right? So you basically take your keyword, your main keyword, which would be the primary keyword and one of these modifier, for example, but then you can add size and color as the variant title. Then you can add gender, then you can add the material, then you can add the brand at the end without including that in the initial title, right? You can just stack those attributes, and that's just a cleaner and more rule-based version on how to do that. And that's also how we do it in the agency, right? This makes sense to like stack all that stuff in the initial title. Would be quite stupid, to be honest, as well. Doesn't help you with the performance. All right, and last but not least, let's look at the most common mistakes that I see with the feed optimization. Again, don't guess keywords, look at the actual data and what works. Don't use SEO keywords. Again, there's a difference between SEO and shopping. Like, don't just randomly use SEO keywords. Actually look at keywords with buying intent, right? So there's a difference. There's absolutely a difference, and you have to keep that in mind. Don't add random product attributes that don't apply for your product without any proof, right? That stuff can lead to suspensions. Don't mix multiple product types or multiple keywords. Don't keyword stack randomly. Make sure it makes sense. And again, don't over optimize it just to have a long keyword or a long title in that sense, I mean. And then it also, again, doesn't really make sense, right? It's just like synonym stacking, and it will hurt you more than it benefit you, honestly. Final rule, a keyword-rich title is not the most keywords possible, right? Like we just said, it is the clearest reflection of real buyer language. So that's what we focus on, the buying intent, not search volume, not SEO, not guesswork, real buyer language, right? Like we want to sell something. Keep that in mind. The clearest reflection of real buyer language placed in the right order. Isn't that beautiful? That's basically everything it is, right? All right, and that's pretty much it about how to optimize for keywords. This time, like actually super detailed. I hope it helps. I will not go over tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Like you can check it out. I will attach the Notion to the bottom of the video. All right, 2 more things. We keep it short and quick here. Feed rules, what to do, what not to do. So very short, just a quick overview. Like I said, optimize top spenders first. So top spenders in terms of high performers and wasters. 80-20 rule, right? Especially if you have big feeds, keep it simple. Keep your taxonomy consistent, your naming consistent, have certain rules, certain patterns that apply that helps with optimizing big feeds. Use supplemental feeds, honestly, for surgical overrides, if it's like title and stuff like that. So we always have like our main basic feed that's connected with a feed to like the Google Channel app or Symbiosis. And then I like to use a sub feed where I optimize the main feed, right? Without touching the main feed too much. It's a preference thing. You can optimize your main feed to a certain degree. I like to keep the main feed untouched, and then I have a sub feed where I can add all that stuff. It makes me more flexible, right? But in the end, it doesn't matter. Just giving you the 2 options here, basically. Yeah, keep track of your changes, especially if you test and you want to test the differences and how it works out for you. And like we said before already, standardize your naming conventions, right? Have a certain rule on how you work with your feed. It's very important, especially with big feeds. Again, don't just rewrite the entire catalog at once. Randomly focus on your bigger spenders first. Don't push promo language. It leads to disapprovals. Don't change product type and category mapping every week. But generally speaking, don't make too much changes, right? Like that's again where you think, oh, you're doing something, you're optimizing it, then you make so many little changes that it actually like never can get out of the learning phase, right? So that's super important as well. Yes, you want to optimize. Yes, you want to improve it, but don't make like mini changes all the time, because then you just keep yourself stuck in the learning phase. Death by over optimization, right? It's a real thing. And I see it very often with beginners who think they always have to touch something all the time. And then don't use misleading attributes or like certain search terms to chase traffic, right? To chase more volume. Again, relevance, quality over quantity, and search volume. Super important. And then testing framework, we briefly touched it already. So you don't want to over optimize. How do you test properly, right? And keep track of the improvements, the potential improvements as well. So you only test one major thing per SKU, because if you do a lot of changes at the same time, you don't even really know, okay, what actually improved the listing, right? Unless your listing is completely shit and you know that. Like if everything is bad, of course, like please, for the sake of your performance, just improve everything then. But if it's just about testing little tweaks, just one thing at once. Otherwise, it's not a good test anymore. And what does good look like basically, right? What are we looking for? It's improved click-through rate, improved conversion rate even sometimes, or at least we don't want to collapse our conversion rate, our ROAS. Then query quality improvement, especially if you see a lot of unrelevant search terms that don't really make sense for you. And again, just like the main thing, right? No CPC spikes if potential CPC decrease because of a better quality listing, stable conversion rate, stable ROAS, and always remember to test it for an extended period of time, depending on how much traffic you get. But yeah, usually at least 1 to 2 weeks. If you don't have a lot of spend yet, also don't test things, right? If you have a budget of like 40, 50 a day and you get a couple of clicks per SKU, like you cannot test anything yet. You need a lot of budget, a lot of data to also like test properly. Otherwise, the testing period would be like too long. Then you have an extended testing period. Doesn't make sense. Also important, if click-through rate is up but conversion rate is down, you probably made it a bit too broad. That's also where the keyword stuffing comes into it, right? Where you have like, great, you have all these like high search volume keywords, right? Brilliant. Now you get a lot of clicks. Don't really make sense. You have poor quality of traffic, high bounce rate, which leads to higher CPC. You made it too broad, too misleading, and nobody buys. Then you come to me and to tell me, all right, Chris, I have this like optimized website. Everything makes sense. It's a proof winner. I have a great product, great pricing, great website, and still nobody buys, right? And that's something you want to look into it then, because then you have high click-through rate. You probably get a lot of unrelevant search terms and your conversion rate is down. Nobody buys in the end, right? You don't want to be attractive to everybody, right? You want to only find your ideal target audience, the hot market, the ready to buy audience that is willing to buy your product, because like you don't want to like, I think that's the main thing that a lot of people get wrong with keyword optimization, right? That's exactly why they're looking for, oh, what has the biggest search volume? What has the biggest volume, the biggest volume, the biggest volume? Again, what about the volume, right? You only need like a very small group of ready buyers that want to buy what you have to offer. And that gives you the results that you need, right? You don't want to like get a lot of clicks from everyone, from people that are not willing to buy anyway in the first place. So what's the point, right? You want to have sales, you want to have a good ROAS. So that's what we're looking for. And yeah, that's it for today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that helped. I think it's a super valuable resource and I hope it helps you to crush it and get some good results. So that's it. See you in the next one.